you accommodate your schedule every time we have these late night meetings?
Yes, thank you for that.
I ended at 4, so I'm logged in for this hour and then I'll log back out.
Okay. Good.
Wow, this is really awesome. I see 21
Yay.
participants. Amazing.
Alan, did you discuss that form with Natalia? Is it going to be easy to use?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. It's in the chat already.
Okay, yeah.
I already put the link in the chat, so
Okay.
and folks can. So we're gonna get started. It's 8 o'clock, so we probably should get going.
You might have to repost it again for anyone who
Yeah, good
joined
point.
after you posted it.
Thank you for that. Let me just go back to that. Okay, I'm gonna move in here.
Well, Alan is doing that. I'll just make the only public service announcement of the evening is just to remind everyone that this is a public meeting and it is being recorded.
Okay, I didn't realize it was gonna the committee meeting was gonna be recorded. Was the social? Huh? Okay, all right.
It's an open meeting, Alan. So
Got it.
In the Zoom world, it has to be recorded.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. So I just wanted to just start off our meeting. Welcome to everyone who's here, 25 participants. I expected to go around the Zoom room and have everyone introduce themselves, but we can't do that with a short amount of time. But I want to just thank everyone who's come today. I see some new names and names like folks I don't know and others that we do know each other. We've been in touch over the last year and a half. So welcome to the first sort of CEC District 20 Special Ed IEP meeting. A quick sort of rules of thumb about the meeting. Okay, so this is the Zoom invitation went out and it's in a larger public space. If by chance anything terrible happens, as in those infamous Zoom bombs, what we'll do, Natalia and I will work together. We'll shut off the meeting, right? Call it off and then come back on and log on in 2 minutes, okay? Sort of that's the best way to handle that. So let's just make sure that that doesn't happen. We're gonna move on here as best as we can. But if that were to happen, we'll press leave and then use the same exact Zoom link and just wait like a couple minutes and then come back on in case of those unfortunate instances for everyone. All right. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. This is, like, as I said, it's our first meeting. And before we move on, just want to make a quick brief announcement. I'm going to put into the chat information about the upcoming CEC elections, right? So here they are. They're there for everyone. You can go there and click online. Oh, I'm sorry. Those are just special ed reports. I got the wrong link there, but that's there for you too. Let me get to the elections here. Where do they go? Oh no. Oh, here they are.
Date for applying is the 28th.
Thank you, Alice.
Yeah. I think Sean did you raise your, hi?
So let me just put this in here, paste. Boom. Okay, here, what I just put into the chat is the direct link that tells us exactly how to run for a seat. I think there's a week left. Is that what you said, Alice? Or
Yeah, the 28th is the deadline for applications. And then there are going to be forums, and then there's voting, I believe, during a 3-week period in May. Maybe I have that not accurate, but some timeline like that. It's all available at that link that you posted.
Right. Great. So that quick announcement, so folks are aware of that. Our second brief announcement, did Paulette Hawk come into the room by chance?
I don't see her yet.
I'm here, guys.
Oh, yeah, there she is.
Right, Paulette, I have you down on the agenda to give sort of a brief synopsis or update, and we could do this as a regular sort of ritual or part of this committee meeting, whereas you serve on the larger special ed, the CCSC, and and you happen to live in D20. So if you don't mind, as we had talked before, you don't mind just giving us sort of a brief update so that folks know where we're at with that before we get started.
Sure. Can everyone hear me first and foremost?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the latest information that came out is that as of February 12th, there was a new report released by the Special Education Office, or the Division of Specialized Student Supports, which oversees everything under the special education realm: IEPs, 504s, 4401 schools, things of that nature. So I'm going to share the link to that. All of the links that we're going to be sharing in the chat, it's all public information. And these reports are generated not only for the DOE Central, but for all of the superintendents and executive superintendents, along with our city council people. So let me pull that up really quickly. And I will put the link to the latest reports. And these are very easy to kind of look through, only because the previous report that was released in November about compliance issues is 128 pages long. And I do encourage everyone to definitely look at it when they have a chance. And if you're a data freak like I am, there's a lot to unpack in there. But this one is a lot more user friendly, I guess you could say, because it's mostly slides broken down by the executive superintendent and then the actual superintendent. So, okay, Natalia, did you get it? Because I don't have an option to send it to everyone. I only have it to send it to the co-hosts. So Natalia, can you share it widely with the with everyone that's on the meeting?
Okay, you might have to give me a minute because sometimes it doesn't allow me to copy and paste.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Paulette,
No
is there
problem.
anything? Yeah, as we're pasting that in, is there anything else you wanted to share with us?
Well, we are having discussions with the School Construction Authority based off of the last presentation that they had presented at D20, because it is egregious that we have 4 slated properties to be built within the next 4 years within our district, and D75 is not being considered for placement in any of them, considering these are all ADA accessible buildings, and a lot of our children in D75 have mobility issues.
May I spread some knowledge right now? There we have 96 seats over at the Angel Guardian Home that are going to be slated for District 75 Middle School, and that's part of the program. I don't know where you got your information from.
That was not shared with us during the presentation from SCA.
96
Mr. O'Brien.
seats.
That was
96
not,
seats.
unless that was in the presentation and I have the presentation because SCA did send it to us, that is not on there. So if that was a conversation that was had at the district, that was not shared at the CEC meeting, and that was not shared with the membership. So if this is new information, I would greatly appreciate it if you could send this to
we're
us.
super excited about it too, and I want to thank you as been one of the vocal voices in this entire agenda to ensure that this happens. You know what? We listened to the community. We wanted to make sure this happens. We have 96 seats at the Angel Guardian Home for middle school District 75. Now, there's we can't pop the champagne yet. We need to work with District 75 to ensure that we have the right people and that we have the obviously we have the space, but now it's about populating the classrooms with the type of people that we want to have to ensure greatness that goes forward with this program. And and honestly, you have been the biggest voice for this since I've been here, and I want to thank you for that. And it's really turning a corner on this, so thank you.
So, Dr. Brian, when can we officially pop the champagne in terms of when the CEC would know, or the public in general, in terms of the officiality of those seats?
Well, I think you'll hear it from the school construction authority and the school development organization that's going to be handling this. But I mean, I imagine that we can have this conversation with them up front and personal and talk about this as part of the district leadership team. Or even and I want to wish you congratulations, Paulette, on your new position, because I think that that's also going to be a venue that we can drive this work together.
Well, one thing we could do, oh, Alice, go ahead. I see your hand.
I just wondered, for the 96 seats middle school, how does that put a dent in the need? So in other words, how many seats are we looking for? How many children currently have to travel, long distances to get you know where I'm going with this. And the
No, I
other three,
know,
and
Alice.
the other three
Believe me,
schools.
you see the expression on my face. I agree with you 110%. And I simply don't have that information yet.
Okay.
I'm sure and we're having a somewhat of a transition now. I am reverting back to my old role as deputy superintendent, and Mr. Preto will be coming on as of the 24th. So we're very excited about having him here, and I'm sure that those questions could be addressed in a better fashion from then.
Okay.
But I can attest to the fact that we have 96 seats that are coming to District 20 in the Angel Guardian home, specifically earmarked for what she said.
Absolutely. Okay.
75.
Thank you. We look forward to continuing, addressing the need. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I want to just also parrot and agree with your statements about Paulette. She is a treasure to our community, and she is, the hardest working volunteer I think I have ever met. So just thank you, Paulette, for all that you do. I agree.
Paulette has done quite a lot. She also raised the issue that we didn't have a DPAC in our district.
Yes. I know that.
Right? And we made that happen. So we want to make sure that we're listening to the community. We're thinking of ways that we could project District 20 into the future and turn a new corner.
And she's also the Title I rep for the DPAC, right? So she's helping everyone with that. So kudos, Paulette. Thank you.
Well, yes, thank you all. So one of the things I look forward to is at this committee meeting, and I wanted to sort of just transition us to the next item on the agenda here, using this as a transition. So this is the first, ever, I guess, or one of the first, right? And so part of the idea is to create a scaffolding which the next CEC in May could take with them. And part of why we're here is today is to allow parents to have not just a voice, but have direct input in the process and put upward pressure, not from the CEC, into superintendent's office, all the way on top, and finding ways to the community to ensure that voices from the margins, right, are demarginalized and centered for what's been we've been waiting way too long for this. So hopefully that what we're doing here is creating a scaffolding, a structure, and also I'm asking us as we move into the rest of the meeting is to think about the structures together, to think about the systems. So one of the things I'm going to do, and by systems, I'm talking about the processes, the struggles, the fight, la lucha, as we say, that it is to ensure that disability voices are centered. So what I've done is that we've put in the chat, and I'd like to thank Rachel Posner for help with this for both teachers, right? And if you look to where it says Padlet.com, if everyone can go and click on that Padlet and open it up in your browser, just give a hand wave if you're in there. And what we've done is we've created a wall or a space, right? A community space, like a mosaic to express our concerns and do it in a safe place. Given that, it looks like parents have already gone in here. This is awesome. And to do it in a way that highlights our concerns and also protects people's identities. One of the things I found quite illuminating as is that over the year serving on the CEC is when parents would come to the CEC meetings, and they would have other people read their testimonies for them with regard to special ed to IEP concerns. And one of the things they did, and they as your IEP representative, they gave voice to many of the frustrations that I had been and colleagues had been trying to share. And I'm like, and that's a really nuanced way of putting it. And that's a really that underscores exactly what we want to get on, address. And it was very, very helpful for folks to do that. And at times it was also, it was the struggle that I saw when folks were afraid to speak out at times and ask others to read things for them during the parent testimony parts of CEC meetings. That struck me, and I listened, and for over the year and a half. So this meeting and what we're attempting to do here today is a culmination of ensuring that we're centering marginalized voices in the district. So what we want to do is, if you don't mind, right? And this is an anonymous way of doing it, where rather than we come as a CEC and we say, hey, we know what's best for you. We know, we've got the numbers. We want to decide what the problems are in the district with regard to special ed or IEP, the struggles, the concerns, the gaps. How about we decide that for ourselves? How about we share our voices? So if you don't mind going to this, and at the very bottom right, you're going to see a plus sign. And one of the things that you could do is I'm going to ask you to take a two or 3 minutes, and I'll play some music, and it'll be like a group exercise. If you don't mind going in and writing a few concerns, and it has a capacity, this tablet, by the way, has a capacity to do it in your own, in the language that is most comfortable to you. So I will do my best. Spanish is my first language, so I can help with some translation there, but I'm afraid on Mandarin and Arabic, I won't be able to do that. But this is a mosaic here that allows folks to center their voices. So if you don't mind going into this and just anonymous, you'll see the question on the top left that says, what are your biggest struggles with special ed IEP issues in D20? Write in your own language. And if you relate to someone's post, you can click the heart underneath. So take some time to do that. We'll take about, let's give it 3 or 4 minutes so folks can anonymously write what they feel, their lived experiences that we want to get at here. Wow.
Alan, perhaps we can put everyone on mute. Natalia?
Yes, let's do that for right now. Natalia, do you think we could open up the chat? Would that be possible? So that if folks aren't able to do it here, they can actually do it there as well, should they choose?
Okay, so everyone should be able to communicate now. I'm gonna see if we can put everyone on mute.
I think it's just Miguel. Everyone else seems to be muted.
Oh.
It's his kids, not really him, I guess.
Okay. I think some people still haven't gotten the link.
That's me playing the music. Wow, okay. Wow.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, let's go ahead and sit down here. What color do you want, sir? I want green today. Kind of feel like having.
I see that folks are still typing in. Amazing. I'm going to give this another couple minutes. I feel like voices need to be heard here. So this is just wonderful. Now, if you want to see as other parents, other community members, right? We're part of a larger community here, right? And so as you can, if you want to see what people are posting, and if nothing is showing up, press refresh, just refresh it. And you'll see other people's posts pop up. just want to quickly give a shout out to I noticed that some of our staff here from D20 have come to the meeting to join us today. Thanks for coming to listen, and thanks for coming to read and partake with us. Means a lot. So thank you for being here with us today. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. So what I'd like to do for the next sort of maybe 10 minutes, and Natalia, if you could help me sort of co-moderate this. I've also asked Alice and Simeon as well to help co-moderate this session, because there's a lot going on here, and it feels like there's issues here that I have not, that I admit I've done our best to represent, but not all disability experiences are the same. And that's exactly what we needed to see in terms of maneuvering within the system, in terms of structural inequities and so forth that we're seeing here. So I'm wondering if now's a chance for voices for those who are comfortable. So what we'd ask you to do is just raise your hand. I'm going to be looking on the right side of the screen. And if you would like to volunteer to sort of, I'm going to ask you, so no more than a minute and a half or so. We're going to keep time just for the sake of having an expedient meeting, but also we want to allow for voice. So if anyone would like to share or respond in a reflective way here, and I would welcome that at this point.
I see Allison raising her hand already.
Yeah. Whenever you're ready, I'm going to start the time for a minute and a half, Allison. You can unmute yourself, or Natalia will make sure.
I unmuted.
Okay, great. Go for it.
So I'm new to school system. My son started in September in 3rd grade, and an IEP for speech, but he's not in special ed classes. So I want to know, how is it that he's in hybrid learning. So during the Zoom, he has not been getting any speech therapy at all, which to me is unacceptable, because my son has had an IEP since pre-K and he always received it in the private school no matter what. But now that he's in public school, he hasn't received it during Zoom classes. And I'm wondering why is that happening? What's the process with this? I have had nothing but bad experiences, and he's only been in school since September, and he has not had any of the resources that he is required to have at all during Zoom. And I'm wondering how is this allowed? And I tried to reach out to the school, and they said the only time they can do it is when he's on regular Zoom class, and yet then he misses his regular class, and then they never got back to me. So I'm not happy at all with the public school system, and I'm wondering how does this all work with going about that my son should be getting the resources, and he doesn't even get an iPad because they said he didn't start school there last year. So he's using my iPad. So basically, how is this all working out? Like, what do you guys do to fix this type of situation?
Thank you, Allison. I don't think I have any insight.
Well, that's all I keep getting, is that there's no insight, but yet you guys supposedly are some committee, and you guys, from what the email said, is special ed IEP. My son has an IEP, and I've tried to go about it with the school, and not one person can answer the question as to why my son's not getting the resources that he needs.
So Alan, this might be a time to invite a district representative, or at least take Allison's information and maybe try to,
Hey, Allison, how are
Yes.
you?
Hello.
How are you? I'm the acting superintendent right now. Can you share with me in a private chat the name of your school and
Okay.
and your name and phone number
Sure.
and your child, and we'll be sure to get back to you within the hour.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Do I message you privately via Zoom?
Joseph O'Brien.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I see Francine's hand up, Natalia, but maybe there's someone you saw earlier. Or we can just go with Francine.
Well, I have Francine, Paulette, and Tamara who all have their hands raised.
Okay,
Thank you. Sorry, I lost connection. Apologies.
no worries. So Francine, let's.
Okay, sure. I'll be quick. I just want to say that what Allison just said, I feel like so honestly, I don't want to hear, I mean, hearing from a district representative might seem like a good idea, but as somebody who's been doing this for years and years and years and years, we need something else, right? Because I can tell you, Allison, what the district representatives will tell you. And the fact of the matter is what she touched on, and I think if you look at the Padlet, I think the underlying message is exactly what she just said, right? And so it's great that Dr. O'Brien wants to take your information, and I hope that you get through. But at the end of the day, this is the problem, right? Is that systemically we are denied services, and then we are expected on this individual level to somehow fight this battle and figure out like what the magic formula, like you're in a meeting, it's public, it's being recorded, you'll get results. But if you are just a parent who is actually just trying to get your kid educated and you're not on this call, or you don't know somebody at the CCSE or know somebody at the CEC, you don't get those same results. And so the answer isn't, should we have, in my opinion and my experience, should we have a district representative speak to us? But it is, we already know the party line. The party line is, we want to help you. This is an anomaly. We'll fix this, right? But that's actually not true, that it's actually the culture of District 20. So the question for me is, in this meeting with this CEC, what can we do to start to change the culture, right? So that parents don't have to sign on to these meetings. We are federally granted by law the right to educate our children. It should not be this hard. And it is incredibly hard in this district. It is famously hard in this district. That is the reputation that this district has. And so while I appreciate the sort of one-on-one, and I absolutely think people should get help, what do we do to bring it past this? That's what I would like to know.
Thank you, Francine. Thanks very much. your
Absolutely.
voice.
And thank you, Francine. And I know we've talked. Am I allowed to talk right now?
Sure, Dr. O'Brien, you can respond, but this is really, we wanted a platform for parents to be able to voice their concerns, and it's our job to listen and take this in.
I hear you loud and clear, sir. And I just want to make sure that Francine knows my email and that she can reach out to me, and I'll get back to her at a later date. I don't want anything to get by tonight. That's not listened to. Alan, and I want to tell you, so many members of the community have reached out to me and had some amazing conversations and talks. We want to be vocal and really be aggressive in our response. So if we can get if Natalia can get the emails and that we can reach out, it'll be good for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who was next? Alice, I believe that you were moderating. I apologize for losing our
Oh, it's okay.
connection.
I believe Paulette was next, and then Tamara, and then Natalia can see raised hands.
Julia.
Julia after that. So let's hear from Paulette right now, and I'm starting your time.
Thanks, guys. I don't want to take too much time. I just wanted to just piggyback on what Francine is saying, and Allison being a prime example of how parents have come to these meetings time and time and time again to reiterate the same exact problems over and over and over again. And the fact that we don't have a point person at the district who can help a parent get a device at this point, at this juncture, when we've almost been in COVID quarantine for a year, is abysmal. So, I mean, we've talked about devices over and over and over again, and I know as CEC members you have all asked for information about devices, data on how many device requests have been out, how many are still waiting, and we are still not hearing anything from the district. So Mr. O'Brien, if you want to move forward with being really proactive and correcting some of the wrongs that has systematically plagued our community, I would say that's point A. Getting someone who is in charge of getting answers to these parents when they're asking for something as simple as a learning device for their child.
I hear you loud and clear. And if I may, just for a moment, Alan, to share with all families on the call right now that the executive superintendent, Ms. Barbara Freeman, sits on the chancellor's committee for those very same things, and to reach out to Ms. Freeman should you need any of those problems, or myself, and I will gladly send those messages over. We only have 2,000 more, I believe at this rate, is 2,000 more devices that are still in flux. And believe me, we are waiting every day to get these devices.
Is that the district or is that citywide? I'm thinking
the
that's
district.
the district.
Yeah.
That's
Now, mind you, we have 47,000 students that are in District 20 that reside, and we're doing the very best we can. But
how many have already gone out?
I'm sorry?
How many have been distributed? Roughly, ballpark?
I couldn't say off the top of my head at this call, but
I'm
I'm sure that.
Sorry, can I just throw something in there?
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to throw in there. This is a really good example. I personally, I have two devices that I can't use, right? Because I have a device that doesn't work, and then randomly out of the blue got a new one that doesn't have any of the apps my son uses. So it's not really just a matter of delivery, right? It's a matter of there's some kind of breakdown somewhere in the system, right? About efficiency and communication. So it's more complicated than just we have a lot of students and we have a lot of devices.
No, I hear you, Francine, and I agree. And the nuances that are part of that, which obviously are the addresses are a big issue. The fact that internet is a huge issue, and obviously, I think the first thing that happens in families is the loss of the internet. And quite frankly, that it's something that can't be cut at this time. So I hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Alice, Natalia, who was next for speaking?
It's Tamara and then Julia.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep,
Okay.
we can hear you. Yep, go for it.
I do have to agree with the other parents that spoke. I've dealt with a lot of fighting this district for services for my child from the age of 3. My child is 11. Okay, I feel like it's a constant struggle. It's a constant fight. It's a constant, like, I know my kid. I'm the one that's with my kid every day. I'm the one that's helping my kid with their homework. I'm the one that's up in the middle of the night, going over stuff with my kid when my kid has a test. It's me. Okay. So a lot of times I don't appreciate somebody from the school-based support team telling me after talking to my kid for 10 minutes what my kid needs for services. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of times parents talk and we're telling the schools what our kids needs, and they're telling us, well, no, we don't think that's it. We think this is something else. No, don't tell me what my kid needs. Okay, you're not the one with that child day in, day out. Watch that child while that child's struggling, while they're getting a 59 on a test or a 30 on a test, and then trying to figure out why they're getting that on a test, and speaking to the teachers and speaking to their speech therapists and to speaking to like everything that you're putting your kid in, like after school math, after school ELA, after school this, just to get more services for your kid, because the services that you're getting, you don't feel is enough. So I do understand what Allison is going through, because my kid is in speech too. You know what I mean? And when we started this pandemic, my kid didn't start getting their speech services back until like April. You know what I mean? So she went for like almost 2 months without getting a speech. And then when she did get it, it was sporadically. So it wasn't until she started in her new school where she's getting it 2 times a week, and it's consistent. You as parents, we have to constantly fight. You know what your kids need. You have to fight. I just think it's really irritating to constantly have to fight for services that mandated for them to get. Okay, you guys are getting money for our kids for these services. They should be getting these services. And the fact that we have to continually fight for them is ridiculous. And I've met numerous parents that are having the same issue. And I don't know what to tell you. You guys need to do a better job. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, Julia.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So I just had a couple questions. I was hoping maybe someone could help me, answer me, or anything. Going forward with our children, is there any plan in place for next year to help them catch up? That's my real question. My son's in an ICT class. He does not have 2 teachers in his classroom. There is no support in his classroom, which is mandated. I understand there's circumstances going on. I understand we're waiting on guidance, which I hope I never hear after 2021 ever again. But I am curious if anyone knows or heard of any kind of programs maybe over the summer that's going to be offered to help them catch up, any kind of assistance when we go into our next grade. Are they going to get double help to help them catch up from the year and a half they just lost? Anybody?
Alan, may I?
Sure, you can take this.
All right, great.
Because I'll say why you could take us, because that information has, in terms of summer, has not been. I'm the IEP rep. I'm on numerous listservs, so the question is an excellent one by Julia, and I feel like myself and the rest of the council should get that information. So by all means.
So ma'am, I have to share with you, I'm on my way, actually my way out as superintendent acting. However, I will remain on as deputy, and I can share with you our biggest concern is regulating the student learning loss that's to happen. I think in District 20, number one, what we need to do is to identify a good universal screener for us to use to share with our principals and our family the areas of concern for students. And and I have to tell you, we have been working around the clock since March, since we left. And I want to just give a big shout out to our principals who have done an amazing job under outrageous circumstances.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right? Like I just feel like these people are the unsung heroes. And you know what? I stand here and try to speak for them. However, I do a terrible job. What I wanted to promise you, ma'am, is that we're bringing back student inquiry. We're bringing back intervisitation. We're bringing back opportunities for students to explore their work in ways that we could measure, and to explore their work in ways that are meaningful. And that's a lot of jargon for we're going to have a universal assessment, hopefully, and for District 20 in the days ahead. And I've broached this topic with our new superintendent, who will be coming on Wednesday. His name is Mr. David Prado, and seems like an amazing guy that comes to us from District 4. He's going to be leading the work on how we manage to bring our students back. Now, I don't want to spill any information or say things that aren't true, but I want to remain transparent and tell you that we here at District 20, the principals at District 20, have done such a remarkable job in the time ahead, that we're going to continue to do so as we go forward. And I want to ensure to you that I have every confidence that the learning loss that we're experiencing, and believe me, there is learning loss. The learning loss that's happening right now across the district will be remedied in short time.
But can you answer the question about if there's any educational programming going to be provided over the summer by the district for kids?
I don't have that information, Simeon, unfortunately, and good evening to you. How are you?
Good.
That's probably be a better question for Mr. Preto, who will be taking on the district reins on Wednesday.
So it's my understanding that all of these children who are in ICT classes or have not received any, well, not any, but have received very few services are just going to be pushed through the system?
I don't know that answer to your question, ma'am. Unfortunately, that's a question that's way beyond my pay grade. That
So
comes.
who can I ask?
I think a question would be to our executive superintendent or even to the chancellor himself. I think that your question about I think that you're talking about grading policy is around.
No, I'm not worried about grades. I know my son is failing. I'm not worried about grades. I'm worrying about him. This started in his 4th grade. Now he's going to go to a brand new school in 6th grade, and he has not had support at that point in September for a year and a half. So when he goes to a brand new school, what do you expect is going to happen?
Well, I recommend writing to the principal immediately, ma'am. And
It's
also,
not the, what do you mean the principal? I don't understand when you say the principal. The principal is not, the school according to the district.
I'm sorry, you have to repeat that, ma'am.
I said the school is staffed according to the district.
Yes. And yeah, all staff members report to District 20 schools. If there is a problem at that District 20 school, I encourage you to reach out to them and CC me on any correspondence, and we'll ensure that you have your questions answered in a timely fashion.
Yeah, and if I could, if I could quickly just weigh in here, oftentimes when we think about,
I think she's going to continue a point, Alan. If you could just pause for a second. She's been cut off twice already. Let's bring it back to our parent.
So are you, I just want to know, is the district aware of the fact that there is not 2 teachers in ICT classes in District 20? And it's not only District 20. I'll be flat out honest with you. This is across the whole city.
Yes, ma'am. You're right to say that. In citywide, the UFT have reached an agreement with the Department of Education that unfortunately I don't have the equipment to share with you tonight, but that has been made an agreement that one teacher could be in that environment. I can't go into it deeper than that, but yes, that is something that's been done citywide. And that's more of a question. If that is something of the measure of the questions that you're asking, I would definitely serve that to the CEC, some of the members that are here tonight, to ask our chancellor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you both. So if I could just, I know Diana is up, I believe up next. Is that correct, Alice?
Yes.
If I could just have a outside the box here when it comes to how we see assessment, especially amongst disability communities. Oftentimes assessments are based on standardized measures and they don't tell us the full story. I've been a teacher or a professor for 16 years, and I can tell you from experiences and from science that when we use these very standardized rigid assessments to tell us that a child is losing learning, you can never ever not, we're always learning. And this is how, so in other words, we've defined what learning loss, socially defined through these very rigid sort of numerically based assessments. So one of the things I think we should think about as a council and as a community, especially with Mr. Preto, is to think about meaningful ways in which that we can see where and the multiple intelligences that children have and account for them in different ways rather than through these very rigid lenses that we use oftentimes. And then parents feel as if our children are failing. But by what? These are socially constructed measures. So I just wanted us to think outside the box to how we see and how we assess and think about the fact that we're living under a pandemic and we're talking about struggles that we've never experienced before, right? And so how they're accentuated, pre-existing inequities are now compounded, right? And inequities based on race and class and disability and gender and their intersections. So let's think about that as we move forward. Diana, you're next.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes.
Okay, so this is my first time sitting through one of these meetings, and respectfully, I'm a bit like, I think I'm getting like more angry as I sit through this because it just seems like we're just going in circles and things are not being answered. My son is in an ICT classroom, and he is currently in a classroom with over 30 kids with one teacher and two paras, really not receiving the support that he needs through because of the situation. I have him in tutoring that I'm paying for on the side. Thank goodness I was able to push for speech and I was able to push for OT. But again, it was really me being my son's advocate and like really like knocking on everyone's door to get him those services that he needs. When he was in regular, in school, he was a B+ student. Now he's like more towards a C, but in school he was able to get, even though he didn't have a direct para, there was a para in the classroom, there were two teachers, sometimes three paras in the classroom. And now all of that is gone because of this situation. And while I understand it's a pandemic and it's above and beyond everyone's control, I still think that at the end of the day, respectfully, like these kids are getting the shit end of the stick because they are not receiving the services that they need, and their social emotional well-being is just being affected. And while you're telling us that, we have to look at things outside of the box, it really ends up being bullshit because that's what they get graded of being in that box. And they get graded for like their grades, right? For how they're performing. So this year he's falling behind. He's more of a C student, where in the past he's been a B. And I feel terrible because he's like, he studies, he practices, he does tutoring, and he just can't get there because it's just a different thing being in a remote. And it's just frustrating. And when I'm sitting through this, it's like we're just going in circles and no one's really getting like their questions really answered without like getting pushed to someone else. So it's like, how can we make this situation better? Is my question.
Ms. Vigo, I think you raised some great points. I mean, I think number one, the first thing that I thought of was, have you spoken to your principal of the school that you serve? I mean, where is I don't think I'm allowed to ask, but where your child is, but
I mean, I've spoken to the principal. The school, thankfully, they're very supportive and they've been able to help me. But because it is what it is, right? He's in an ICT setting. There's only one teacher with two paras, and you only get a para if you have a behavioral issue. And my son doesn't have a behavioral issue, but he has a learning disability and he just can't get the support being remote. And it's just frustrating because it's like, why can't he have a para? And it's like, oh, if you have an issue,
hold on, ma'am. And you know what? I hear your frustration right away. And, I'm a parent myself, and I want you to please to reach out to your principal and CC me on that correspondence with the email. Because this is the type of thing that that can be addressed, and we need to address it immediately. I can hear from the tone of your voice that we need to do this right away. So let's do it. And please reach out to your principal. And I don't think I'm allowed to ask who that is, but if you can, please CC me on that email. It's jobrien17. I'm going to put it in the chat area. jobrien17 at schools.
Well, Diana, one of the things I think you're challenging us to do is you're touching on the fact that if the schools and the community don't change our values, this is what happens, your testimony. So we very much appreciate that. And this is where I think that this is where the culture to the structures need to change, right? How we're defining things. And level problems, and we're using the phone calls and so forth for the fix it. We need to get to the large structural issues. So I want to take this moment in which the pandemic actually justifies these very personal issues. So if we can come back to the larger systemic, the structural here, and I want to move over to the next part of the meeting to talk about potential next steps. And this is where I'm going to call on my colleagues, if you don't mind, Simeon and Alice, who had some ideas about potential next steps at the CEC level, but also we could also hear back from the community in terms of what we could possibly do. So do you mind if I hand it over to either of you for this part?
Sure.
Simeon, I'm going to let you kind of take the lead on this, but I do want to just say two really quick things. Dr. O'Brien, would you mind also sharing Executive Superintendent Freeman's email in the chat to everyone? So if they feel that they need to escalate a situation, they have her email available. Would that be all right? Or Natalia can do
You know,
it?
I think it's easily accessible online, and I think Natalia would be in a much better position to
I think-
service the CEC and the greater community.
Okay, thank you. Yes, if we could, I just want to run it by you to see if that's okay. I think a lot of people
Awesome,
don't.
Alice. I know, I understand. I understand.
I think a lot of people don't even realize that we have an executive superintendent who has different job duties. I think there are a lot of things that are not readily apparent to parents, just dropping off and picking up and now Zooming.
I understand. And there's a great misunderstanding about what is in my realm of expertise.
Absolutely.
At least
Absolutely.
these short hours that lay ahead. You know, I think in a lot of ways, Ms. Freeman, or even better, I think Mr. Prado, who I had the pleasure of meeting just a few days ago, would be wonderful to take these kind of same kind of conversation.
So one of the things, thank you. One of the things I think for next steps is in line with that, and then I'm going to hand it over to Simeon, is again, it's very hard, especially if maybe English is not your first language or you work a full-time job, to navigate the employees of the DOE that might be someone that you would escalate an issue to. You know, it's almost like it's a secret and it's a full-time job to figure out who's in charge of what. And I've been on the CEC for 4 years. I feel like I've just started to grasp it. So, and I know it's a lot, but these are the resources that these parents really need. They need to know, if I am, you know, not successful in my IEP meetings with the teachers and the principals, and again, I am lucky enough not to have to navigate the system, so I'm not speaking from any kind of experience, but I know that it can be hard to know who to go to escalate, who is the right person. So you're not spinning your wheels and telling your story and reliving your trauma over and over again and getting nowhere.
Well, I think in a lot of ways, Alice, that's also the role of the CEC, right? Like,
absolutely, and that's why I feel like we're having this meeting.
That are responsible for that, and to bring it to me or a representative of District 20 to share that kind of insight and information. So I want to thank you.
Right. Absolutely. So I think that's the next step, just to compile all of those names and duties and work with you to do that and try to get that out there to the community. And
that's fine.
Handing it off, Simeon. Thank you.
But I think there's sort of two words that have come up a number of times. One is cultural, the culture of the community and the culture of the education system, the culture of the district. And the other one is structural or systemic, sort of some of those issues. And so in thinking about this, I mean, we keep hearing meeting after meeting after meeting about how people have been frustrated for years and years and years and years. And it's always asking someone to respond to my issue that I shouldn't have to even raise. It should have been your responsibility to do, because my child has a legal right to these services, but they're not getting them. And why is it on the parents to try to fix that when it should be on the district, which is supposed to be doing this? So I think what we wanted to talk about as next steps is, what do people want to do next? And what sort of structural changes or cultural changes would you like to see? Besides just saying, give us the damn services that we're supposed to be getting, or give us the evaluation that's supposed to happen within so many days. What sort of structurally or culturally would you like to see change that might actually make it so that we don't have to have more meetings like this year after year after year?
Simeon, can I jump in a second?
Sure.
Well, I'm sorry, Dr. O'Brien, I really want you to speak to it, but I see Francine had raised her hand.
I really wanted to hear from the parents and the community.
I want to hear from parents.
Like to see structurally and culturally change.
So
this is their meeting.
Let's give Francine the floor, and then we'll come back to you.
Sorry, I know I've spoken a lot, and but I think that one of the really most basic structural things that has to happen, even before we can get to a point where you know, where it wasn't a battle is that disability has to be included in diversity training. I have heard more ableism. I don't know why I'm having feedback. I have heard more ableism come from principals and teachers and school staff regarding disability. It just comes from a lack of understanding of a sort of disability positive approach to education. That's a huge problem. I've wrote this in the Padlet, and I'll say this. I've had principals tell me that I'm abusing my child by telling them that they have a disability, right? Which is just false, right, and wrong. So I think that I would like to see, as a really basic move, that disability be included in the sort of culturally relevant training, that diversity, whatever it is, I don't know what you're calling it these days, but that it has to be included, right? We have to have disabled people come and talk to us about a disabled existence so that we understand what it's like.
I love that comment. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to comment right now, but I love that comment, Francine. And I'm sorry, excuse me. And you know what? I feel like that is exactly the type of culturally relevant and sustaining education is what we need. And you know what? It's about discerning student disabilities, thinking about ways that we can match our students with other students, thinking about ways that we can create something that's truly remarkable. And you know what? I can't agree with you more. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't digress.
Cynthia, yes.
I thank you, Alice. I would also like to see the culture of our district change. I've been a part of this district for at least 10 years with both my children, and there is a systemic condition that parents don't know anything. Whether they have a child with an IEP, whether there are parents that are fully involved, the culture seems to be that the parent is only there to be the parent. They have no input on whether or not they have a degree or not a degree. A parent is always looked at as someone who doesn't have an authority over what their the education system or curriculum is for the student. That culture needs to change. I've been to several IEP meetings, whether the parent is got a PhD, whether the parent is a teacher in the education system. Once they become the parent who advocates for their child, they're automatically seen as someone who is combative, defensive, and in a situation where they know nothing about what's relevant to their child and their child's education. And that needs to change. That whole process of parent against principal against administration needs to change in order for our children's needs to be accommodated. That has been systemic with the previous superintendent, with Mr. O'Brien's previous predecessor's administration. Consistently, it's the parent who comes and advocates for their child to be told, well, maybe you don't know as much as you should about what your child needs in their education or not. And that has been systemic for the 10 or so years that I've been advocating for my children and students along District 20. It's just rampant, and that needs to change.
If I may, Miss Arbutin.
We have, I'm sorry, Dr. Bryant, I don't want to cut you off, but we do have two other parents in the queue. And I just want to I know that you want to reply to everything.
No, I just want to give her Sylvia's email.
Okay.
If I may, you know, if Natalia can shoot that in the text. We spent an incredible amount of time working with our parent coordinators of this last 6 months. I think we can connect them together. It would be great.
Okay, thank
Sorry.
you. Okay, so
So I've communicated with Sylvia and with Bill.
I'm sorry, Cynthia, you're breaking up. Cynthia was speaking.
Oh, yes, Alice, I was saying that I've worked with Sylvia and Bill for several years, trying to solve and advocate for parents' issues in District 20. So I'm well aware, and they've known me as a parent advocate before. So I don't know why Mr. O'Brien would have me contact Sylvia, but it's just a point that I'm trying to raise for the district, and I will make sure that I will be in contact with Mr. Pirro about what issues can be resolved, hopefully, that he will be aware of the culture that we've systemically been used to in District 20 by the parents.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so I believe that Julia is next, and then Shannon. And then Vito, I see you, but parents.
Hi, I'm sorry. I was next.
Yes,
I'm
Julia.
Jonah.
Oh, Jonah, I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand on the, yes, Jonah, and then Julia, and then Shannon. Thank you, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. This is my first meeting, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating what other people might have said already. I wanted to share my experience, which goes in the lines of the previous speakers. One of the biggest challenges that I have had as a parent is trying to advocate, not just simply go to the CPSC meetings or the CPC meetings, but it was really hard to get my son initially any speech therapy, even though I had documented from the caregiver, from my part. So when I went to those meetings, I literally had to chase the person responsible for before pre-K. I have 20 emails, and then I actually met her in person 3 times to explain to her why I needed my son to have speech therapy. And not only it was frustrating, but the way that they administration, addresses this is really as if we do not know who our children are, or they would want us to make statements that are not correct. Like I was actually told once that you have to have a medical reason for your son to have speech therapy, which is totally, unacceptable. Then when I had my District 20 meeting, when my son started pre-K, I had another meeting. And even there, I felt like I had to exaggerate my son's current situation so he would be provided a service. And honestly, that is, it is outrageous because the people who work in these offices, they are supposed to alleviate some of the stress that we as parents feel. I am lucky enough that the school that I am currently in, and I don't know if I should say the name of the school or not, but I'm lucky that he has a very good teacher who works with me constantly. And I consider that luck, that the teacher is interested. And apart from that numbering system that I think Alan mentioned, the 0 through 4, which doesn't really tell you anything, it just gives you a heart attack, right? Because you think that a 1 or a 2 means nothing. She goes above and beyond. But I'm realizing today with very much sadness that a lot of these other parents are not as lucky as I am to have a teacher who cares. And we are a very international community, at least, and then multiracial and all of those other things. So it is, and I've seen District 20 representatives always also mention the bilingual problem into it. Oh, it's just because your son is bilingual doesn't mean he needs speech therapy. So they feel so free to make all of these other comments, and they almost force you to say things about your child that are not true, but you feel like you need to tell them so your son can be placed in an ICT class, so your son can get into a special education class. Because honestly, with what I'm hearing, I am lucky again that I decided to put and advocated for my son to go into a K1, into a blended classroom versus ICT. Because if he was in ICT right now, he would have regressed and not made any kind of progression. And I just found CEC, so I hope that involvement with CEC will help. But administrators should get into mind that parents with a child which has anything that's not considered normal, whatever that is, they're dealing with a lot of internal stress. And having to add so much paperwork stress to it makes no sense. Because at the end of the day, they're there to help special needs students. That's it. But I have seen teachers in pre-K pushing kids to, like, specialized schools for no need, and the reverse, trying to deny services just because of some other, pretense. So I really hope that, more parents speak about their experiences. And how do you guys address parents who do not speak English well, who do not understand? What about them? So anyways, that's what I want to say, but hope this is okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jonah. Thank you. Okay, so our next is Julia and then Shannon.
So I just wanted to make sure that I want to give a suggestion for people. Is that okay?
So
Is
there's
that what we were?
Padlet has been posted in the chat. It's updated for the suggestions. If you just link on the most recent Padlet that was put up by Francine.
But the gentleman before, I'm sorry, I didn't know his name. He said he wanted to hear from parents about things we thought that could help. Is that right?
So that's Alan. He's our CCIEP rep. He's our chair of this meeting. But Francine just posted in the chat to everyone the most recent Padlet. So if you just click on that, and then there's a plus icon on the right-hand corner, and you would just add your thoughts. You have to go into the chat of this meeting. You got it. Thank you. Was that your comment? I think it was. Okay. So let's move on to Shannon. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, how are you?
Hi.
So I think that I'm in a very unique position to speak because I am a teacher in District 20 and I've been a teacher for 10 years. I also have a son who is dyslexic and also has ADHD. And I could tell you from a school perspective, what I see that happens when kids have disabilities is a paper trail, checking boxes, making sure that the Department of Education can say that it can service kids in certain capacities when it's clear that a lot of the public school system is not set up to actually address these children's needs. And many parents shoved aside as to their issues. And it's true that parents' voices are often silenced, but it's also true that teachers' advocacy for their students and the students that we service that we know best after the parents are also kind of shuttered to the side, because it all comes down to what's available, how many slots are available, how many providers are available, and what services can actually be provided. So in the end, a lot of the children who have true disabilities get slighted. And the emotional aspect, because the city is so overwhelmed with so many different disabilities and also emotional issues that need to be addressed, there's just not enough staff and there's not enough training also on the educator side to actually truly address these needs. And then when we try to reach our kids out to maybe a private school or a public school that's funded, or a private school that's funded publicly, we have to go above and beyond. It's almost like you're presenting in a courtroom of why your child needs these services because the Department of Education doesn't want to pay for it. And it's really frustrating because in the end, our children are children and we're setting the pathway for the future. They're not commodities. They are little beings that were brought into this world that are trying to be the best people that they can be, but they can't if they're not getting the services that they need to grow. And regarding the current situation that we're in with this pandemic, and I'm very surprised that a lot of people have not brought this up yet, how about let's start with getting them actually in school. In District 20, the schools are shutting down like every other day, literally, because of this massive COVID-19 regimen that's going on. And my son, even though he's supposed to be going to school 5 days a week since late December has probably been in school 5 days out of the entire 3 months because of school closures. I just don't systemically, we are just totally doing them a disservice because now they're a year behind on top of the delays that they already had, on top of, you know, the immense challenges that they were already facing. Now we have social, emotional issues caused by the pandemic, in addition to inequities, which have always existed. But as usual, the kids that are slighted because of a disability get more marginalized. And I'm not minimizing general education children because they're just as important, but it seems to be unequally impacting people that have disabilities. Like my son has not grown at all in this remote learning setting. He's not reading. And in general, as a teacher, you know, kids are not really reading in remote learning. They're being read to.
Yeah.
We're being, you know, we're doing as much as we can to help them with what we can, but we also, as teachers, were thrown into this situation and we don't have the recourses that we need to address the students' needs. So I try not to, I'm not judging either way, the teachers or the parents or the student, but I'm just saying that it's a delicate balance that we need to address, and everybody, including administration, is all being affected by this pandemic. And we're just trying to, I don't know, pedal the waters the best that we can, but we have to work together. But in order to work together, we have to be heard. So one of the huge problems that I have right now is the constant closings of schools. I just, how do you expect the kids to ever get into a routine or ever get into the groove of learning again if every other day they're being closed down because of mandated COVID-19 testing? And then a lot of parents are not sending their kids to schools because they don't consent, and they're coercing the parents to consent. And if they don't consent, then their kids can't go to school. And it's just this cycle. And even the teachers and the staff are being coerced also to take this test or else. And that's all I'll say for that. But there's big, huge systemic issues that are happening beyond District 20 as well, going all the way up to the Department of Education. And people are afraid to speak up. I'm not one of those people that are afraid to speak up. I'm a teacher, I'm a parent, and if we don't speak up, if we don't become the change that we want to see in the world, then the change is never going to happen.
Ms. Shannon, I want to thank you for that heartfelt conversation right there. And it's been heard loud and clear. I too am hardshipped by the restrictions that are put upon me, but I hear you loud and clear, and I understand the very same challenges that you're doing as a father and a parent myself. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Shannon, for your comments. I think that we have a raised hand from Paulette, and then Ana Maria Aguilar. And then if no one else has raised their hand, one of our fellow council members on the chat would like to say something, Mr. Vito Labella. But if we have any parents, Vito's going to wait. So let's go with Paulette first and then Ana Maria.
Hi, again, I'm sorry for monopolizing the time because I really do
You
want to.
aren't. Thank you.
I wanted to give Shannon a quick shout out because, you know, our teachers have been working so creatively and so hard, trying to make the best out of a bad situation. You know, we all believe that our children need to be in school in order to learn, you know, most effectively, but we want to do it safely. And I think something that we need to hearken on is that we're all doing remote in one form or another, and no resources have been put into remote since it was launched back in March of last year. So, you know, not to be a broken record, but we still have families, including tonight, who are still waiting for devices. And when they do get the devices, as Francina put it so eloquently, the apps that would help our children, voice to text, learning programs, you know, IXL math, Lexia, things of that nature are not compatible on these iPads and are not available to these families. So it's like, okay, we not only do we have families still waiting to learn at all, But when they do finally get that device, it's not even compatible for them to start learning right away. And some iPads don't even have Google Classroom on it. And if a parent doesn't read English and doesn't know how to follow those instructions on how to download Google Classroom, that is yet another obstacle. So, you know, I do want to reiterate that, you know, if we want to be proactive about, you know, addressing some of the issues that we're having, let's advocate for throwing more attention to how remote learning is being done. Because regardless of what the future looks like, remote learning is being done one way or another. Whether these buildings open up consistently for 5 days, whether they, you know, open and shut. We've got middle school opening up later this week. And yet again, there are no resources being put towards remote learning. Resources are actually being pulled away from remote learning in order to accommodate in person. So we need to really figure out how to support all of our students. And the best way to do that is to invest attention and invest resources to the remote learning platform. There are things that are already working. If you look in the special education sphere, and if you allow those people at the table when it comes to rolling out these resources and an effective way to do it where it helps all students, because honestly, literacy programs that are effective that teach phonics and decoding are going to help every child across the board, whether they have a disability or not. So that's just something I wanted to highlight. And, you know, again, you know, I strongly appreciate having a teacher voice in this conversation as well, because our parents are our teachers as well. They're our paras, they are our counselors, they're our related service providers. So your input is greatly appreciated. And I would encourage other teachers to come and join this conversation too, because it takes a village. It really does take every stakeholder's point of view in order to change the system that's not working right now.
Thank you, Paulette. Anna Maria?
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. You know, I was hopeful that I would receive information for our families that have children with special needs. I am a PTA president, and my goal is to get information to our families that are afraid to speak up, that are shut down by an administration, that when they go for help, they're being told what their children need and are not listening to the concerns. So it's really difficult. And these stories that I've been hearing today are stories that I've heard from my families in our school. And it's really difficult to process as a parent why our families are not getting the help that they need, especially during these struggling times and difficult times that, you know, there's so many other things that we need to worry. And it really saddens me because I have to go back to my families that and not have any information for them. And these are families that majority of our families are immigrant families that are afraid of retaliation, that are afraid to speak up. And my school, I've heard it from the former superintendent, they don't really talk in the meetings, they stay quiet. And to the district, that's a sign of them being happy. No, it's not a sign that they're happy. It's not a sign that our school is doing what they need to do. It's a sign that they are afraid to speak up, and we need to change the culture of our district so our parents can come out and speak and be heard, and not be afraid of the retaliation, and not be afraid that they're not going to get what they need because they're going to be seen in a different way because they're voicing their needs. So I really feel that we need to change this culture. I'm also part of the Parent Immigrant Advisory Committee. And one thing that I have to say from that perspective as a member there is that our parent coordinators really need to be trained in how to treat the families. I've heard my parent coordinator call our undocumented families illegals, something that they should learn that it's not the proper language. So I think there's a lot of training that needs to be done.
Alice, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm muted. I'm still talking.
And
Okay.
thank you, Ana Maria.
Yes.
Right on. That's unacceptable, unacceptable language. Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
That is exactly what I was going to say as well. And also that I don't see any more hands up in the chat room. So if Vito would like to make his comments now, and if there are any more hands up, we'll call you next.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you for letting me speak. So I hear a kind of recurring theme. Some of that recurring theme is systemic, that the parents are frustrated, that they're trying. I hear retaliation. And I'd mentioned something previously, and for some reason, people were reticent to speak about this, but I have experience with using attorneys to resolve some of these issues. And when you have an attorney, and granted, some of the attorneys are expensive, but you have attorneys that work on a sliding scale. You have attorneys that work on pro bono. And when asked what the CEC can do, certainly we can develop a stable of attorneys that would work with parents. When an attorney goes to court, okay, to enforce a parent's rights under federal guidelines, under state guidelines, people are treated very differently when they have an attorney. Okay, I know this for a fact. I've seen this again and again in both my personal and professional life. Okay, if you have an attorney and then there's a retaliation, that's a serious violation. Okay, if you have an attorney and you have a court order, and then you say to the principal, listen, I have this court order saying this is service. Okay, if you don't comply with this, you're going to be held accountable. You know what? He's going to take care of you because he's afraid. He's afraid of his own livelihood. And if you want a next step would be for us as a CEC, and also for Councilman Brannon's office and for other entities, to get these stable of attorneys that want to work with our parents to get these kids the rightful help that they are entitled to. And that's something that I would be happy to help with. Thank you, Alice.
Thanks for your comments, Vito. I see Francine's hand up and then Tamara Stern after her.
I'm sorry, I'm
Make it away.
trying not to talk again, but Vito, I can't disagree with you more. I'm literally like almost screaming at my computer right now. First of all, on a fundamental level, to say that there's an entire class of students that we should be sending to attorneys for their legal right to an education is just on a base level fundamentally wrong. And I am telling you that as a single parent of brown-skinned children with a food stamps card in my wallet, I've been through the attorney system. It is not equal for all of us, even when you have an attorney, okay? And the fact that that is not a solution, right? That is just further marginalizing disabled students. It is further saying that they have no place in our public school system, right? We should be pushing for inclusion. We should be pushing for equality. We should be pushing for equity. We should be pushing for education about ableism. I'm actually speechless. Obviously, I don't even know what to say for that as a suggestion. And I can tell you, as a parent who's been, I have 2 children in high school now. I've been doing this for a very long time. I have been through this system with attorneys. I have been through the private school system. When you are a person without financial resources, even with an attorney in that system, the system owns you. The system always owns you when you don't have the money to fight back sort of freely. So I'm sorry, but I really hope that the CEC does not pick that up as even remotely their organizing principle.
Thank you. So we have Tamara next, and then Nicole Lapari McLaughlin is after.
I'm sorry, folks. I just want to say goodnight to you all. It's coming up on 9/29 now, and I want to wish you all the best. And we're going to bring back so many of these wonderful vignettes to Mr. Preto, who's going to be taking on the role of superintendent as of the 24th. And all of you, I wish you the best. Alan, I'm sorry we didn't have more conversations about this earlier, but well, you know what? This is a top priority in District 20. And believe me, you made that happen. I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Tamara?
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to agree with Francine because I actually went to court against the DOE to fight for services for my kid. Okay, fortunately for me, I won. Okay, that doesn't happen to every parent. You know what I mean? We did have the means to fight, but the problem is, as a parent of a child in special education, a lot of information is not accessible. You do not know who to go to get the information you need. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard because when you're entering this whole venue, you're just trying to navigate and try to figure out what your kid needs and then how to go about getting it in a way that could help your kid. I went through like 5 different speech therapists for my child before I was able to find a speech therapist that actually worked with my child in a way that actually made great strides for my child. Like she set the foundation and the basis for where my kid is now today. And when I tell you, if this lady ever needed an extra kidney, I will be there for her. That's how much work and much progress that she made with my kid to get my kid to where they are right now. And I'm very thankful for meeting her because she was able to help give me the information that I need so I could fight for my kid in a way that would give my kid the services they need. And not everybody can find these people. And going to court sometimes is not always the good way for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody. It might cause a bigger problem for a number of people, and it does lead to retaliation. You could say, fight this, fight that. But if you're an immigrant and you're afraid of your school sending, ACS or ICE to your home, you're not gonna fight. You're not gonna advocate for your kid. You know what I mean? You just want to stay under the radar. And that's unfortunately what a lot of our parents, immigrant parents, are feeling right now. I've spoken to a lot of them, and they shouldn't be feeling that. They should be, they should feel strong enough to fight for their kid. Their kid is their future. You know what I mean? We're our kids' advocates. If we can't fight for them and we can't show them how to fight, then where are they going to go in the future? That's the whole point of being a parent. They learn from us. So, I agree with Francine. It's, it works for some people. Majority of people, it's not going to work for.
Thank you, Tamara. Okay, so I do have just a note. Our administrative assistant needs to clock out by 9:45, so we are going to have to put a stop on the meeting at 9:45, but that should work out. We have 2 more speakers. We have Nicole Lapari McLaughlin and then Paulette again. And then Alan should probably make some closing comments, and please use this time to fill out the Padlet with any further action steps that you feel need to be taken. So let's hear from Nicole now, please. You can unmute yourself. She's still in.
Hi, sorry. So basically, like, I've been hearing a lot of people saying like not being able to get services and whatnot, and I'm somewhat in the same situation for part of what my son should be getting. But like, I feel like what hasn't been raised is the fact that my child is in kindergarten, and even if there was availability to get all of his services, where like a big thing is that he's 5. Like, what child that's 5 can do meet all day and then extra help because he's not doing well in kindergarten, mainly with phonics, and then on top of that, it's expected that he do his 5 30-minute sessions with OT and speech a week. So there also needs to be something that's looked at on how that could help kids in that age range in kindergarten, because I mean, he's only doing maybe 1 speech a week, and the OT, I mean, he's just resistant, he's not happy, he's frustrated, he's upset. And I just think that it needs to be looked at in a different way also for kids that are so young. And I mean, I'm at the point where I brought it to the principal and AP and teachers, and the fact that he's doing poorly, and I feel like these teachers are not seeing what I'm seeing at home. They're seeing like this very small snippet, and they're not agreeing with what I'm saying. And I know my son, and I know the trouble he's having and how he's sad when he doesn't know something that somebody else does. And I just find it really frustrating that the more I'm speaking out, I do feel like I have a bit of a target on me, and it makes me uncomfortable. And I just want the best. And I'm very upset that, you know, the teacher's saying that he's ready to go to first grade. Meanwhile, like, he still doesn't know so much. And I'm fighting for him to get, you know, to repeat kindergarten. And I'm just so exhausted, and I feel like no one really is on my side and willing to advocate for me for this, that I'm just giving up on the DOE in general, and I'm gonna move him to private school. But I just wanted to say that people just need to really keep in mind for these younger kids and how difficult it is to get services remotely when you're 5.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for your comments. Okay, so we're going to finish up with Paulette, and then we're going to hand it over to Alan. Paulette?
Thanks, Alice. This has been really, really eye-opening in terms of, you know, one, the fact that a lot of us on this meeting are realizing we are not alone, that we've all been going through the same fight within this district. And to offer a suggestion that is a true, equitable, effective suggestion instead of what was just proposed by your CZ member, is using this special education committee to provide the advocacy that our parents need. I sit on the citywide council on special education. I am constantly learning, and I am constantly helping people across the city, but I am more than happy to help those in my own backyard first and foremost. So I shared my email in there. I am a parent advocate, and I will help you through this process because I wish someone would have helped me when I started 13 years ago. There's also a wealth of knowledge within this district. We have been very, very fortunate to have support from Councilman Brennan's office through Jacqueline Donahue. We've had amazing support from Senator Gurnardis's office through Maya Elephant. So utilize the resources that we have and bring them into this conversation to help facilitate these necessary steps that our parents need. No one should feel like they're a target. No one should feel like, you know, they're asking for too much when they're just asking for the bare minimum. And no one should have to go to a lawyer in order to get what is legally mandated to their child via the public school system. Do not absolve our public schools from their responsibilities of teaching our children by taking our tax dollars and not giving anything back. That is ridiculous. So my suggestion, you know, from this conversation tonight, that Padlet is an amazing resource. We can continue putting resources on that Padlet, and we share it out to everyone who came to this meeting tonight so that they have access to all the information that was available there. That could be the first step. Continuing to add more resources. There's different workshops that Child Mind Institute implements, that the Beyond Access series through the DOE, through Synergia for those who have obstacles with learning with language access. You know, all of these IEP advocacy webinars are available in different languages. So let's get those out to our community. Let's use this committee to do that until the district can get their act together.
Absolutely. Great ideas, Paulette, one and all. And I've just jotted them down, and I know that Natalia is going to make minutes on this meeting. Just quickly before I turn it over to Alan, I want to reiterate what he mentioned at the beginning of the meeting about CEC elections being open. This year, it is way more democratic. It is not just officers from PTAs voting. It is every single parent of a public school child, and the IEP and the ELL parent spots are historically under I don't know what the word, underfilled. So not enough parents, or I'm not sure why it is, but if you are an IEP parent or an L parent, and your child could have graduated out of an L program 2 years ago and you can still run, please consider filling that out. You know, these CECs coming up in this next 2021 to 2023 term are going to be the first CECs elected this way by all of the New York City parents. So it's very exciting, and please check out the page and fill out your application by the 28th if you're interested in serving. Thank you so much. And Alan, turn it back to you as the chair.
Thank you so much, Alice. Simeon, was there anything that you wanted to add? Or okay, I see your head shaking. You said no. Okay.
Just my thanks to everybody who came out tonight and appreciate all your input.
Yeah, thank you. So what I just want to just share very quickly what the next steps are. We're going to take this Padlet, and I'm going to go back to my colleagues in the CC. Like we're the conduits, right, between us and the district, and also at the city at large. And as Alice just pointed out, that the elections are coming up. Part of what we're doing here is trying to create an infrastructure, a scaffolding where this becomes a permanent fixture of the CEC, and the next CEC takes this on, and this is maybe a monthly or biweekly voice, right, for the community to tackle collectively special ed and IEP exclusion, the challenges, when I use the term exclusion intentionally because oftentimes people use underrepresented. No, we're represented. We're here. We're in this space. The reality is the systemic exclusion, which can be both intentional, right, by design, and also unintentional, and they reinforce each other. And I heard parents' voices really nicely say that out loud tonight, right? But also on the Padlet. So the next steps are we're going straight back to the CEC in terms of our next steps and a potential next meeting in a couple of weeks, or even perhaps a special meeting by the CEC itself in order to tackle these issues. But that is a public, the Padlet's going to be open for folks to continue. You have the link down there to continue putting in the voices and the concerns that you've really nicely, everything. Thank you so much. So I want to it's 9:42. We need to wrap this up. I'll end in my first language. Muchísimas gracias por venir esta noche. Thank you so much to everyone for coming out. And please stay safe, take care, get those vaccine shots if they increase the supply. And we will be in communication with each of you as a community on our larger Facebook page, and also through our listservs. So thank you all.
And
Natalia,
tomorrow I'll post up all the links that were shared tonight on Facebook and to our website.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you as always for being our administrative assistant and doing such a great job for us. And thank you for everyone who came out. And thank you, Alan, for chairing.
Thank you, Alice, for your tremendous support. It's very, very grateful. And Natalia, I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adios.
All right, everyone have a good night.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
You're welcome. 9:43.